Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to have you here with us again. Thoughtful Thursdays. Do you have your cup of coffee or hot tea? I've got hot tea today. Yeah, see, Barbara doesn't like hot drinks. So you have your drink there, Jay?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
burned
Well,
it into my
I'm Carol.
background, but
Yeah, I'm Carol Henderson, and I have Life by Design. I help people to just spiral their life up and get better and better and better every day. And you have a choice. It is your choice. Are you going to get better? Or are you going to get worse each day? There are so many ways you can control that with the words of your mouth, your nutrition, your thought processes. And those are the things, as you know, that my wonderful co host Barbara and I talk about. And we bring wonderful guests to you, and we're really excited to bring Jay here today. But Barbara will introduce him in a second. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce the, I don't know, I want to say
Incomparable.
insurmountable Barbara Ellison. Transformation.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Thoughtful Thursdays. Yeah, I'm a transformational life trainer because every part of life we can start over on any given day. And I'm all about aging gracefully. I mean, we do not have to get old. We can get older in number, but we don't have to get old. And so that's what this show is all about, bringing you all sorts of things that people can do to reinvent themselves every day. And that's what I am so excited to have Jay on, because that's one of the things that he talks about, reinventing yourself. So Jay, welcome to the show. Tell us about you.
thank you very much, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, both of you. Yeah, I position myself as the reinvention architect, and that's what I call myself. And it's not through anything but a lot of trial and error, and maybe a little bit of change and pain through my own story. And so I agree exactly with what Barbara just said. You know, in the overview is this. So we as individuals we like comfort. We like things to be the same. And we have what's called default systems, I call them. So in other words, we go to school, we get a job, we do this, what we're taught to do. And it's kind of default. We do this and we're comfortable with that. Well, in the last couple of years, 2, 3 years, actually, things have changed, right? And so it's not really realistic, as I found out myself, to believe that with the world of work and the world of life changing so dramatically, that we don't have to rethink our default systems, right? So I have stepped into this space that I call reinvention, which simply means you have to acknowledge that something has ended. And that something could be the way you've done things before, the way your beliefs have been about things, the way they should be, your expectations about work and life. And you reinvent, you reset, and you look at the future with a clean slate, a clean whiteboard that says, okay, what is the best I can be? And I'm open-minded to change in what the future can be. And so there's a process of reinvention, which means I end what has been that no longer serves me, and I move forward with the excitement and inspiration that I deserve in my life. And that really is reinvention, because the world is forcing us, if I can use that word, to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, right?
Can I liken it to, and it's like a death. And we go into a grieving process. And I think some people have even been caught in this grieving process for life as it was. And we keep hearing, oh, when was it going to get back to the way it was? How am I going to go back to what I did? Well, there's a scripture that says, if a seed doesn't fall to the ground and die, it's not ever going to sprout. So
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
basically are doing is helping us to plant that seed
That's right.
instead of just letting it lay there on the ground. You're helping
Yeah.
us to plant it so that it can be watered and grow. I mean, think about a corn, a little piece of corn, and you plant it, and it doesn't take long that you have lots of little pieces of corn.
Mhm.
And there are different plants that have different productivity. I mean, we just got through harvesting pumpkins, and I want to tell you, we have tons of seeds in every pumpkin, and we are pulling them out and we are roasting them, and they are delicious. So, but that seed had to die and go into the ground and be reinvented. So is that kind of likening what you're doing?
Carol, that's a remarkable analogy, because it really is. I don't mean to get technical here, but I do follow the model of change from a gentleman called William Bridges, who's passed away now, but his family and his legacy live on, this change management. And he actually has a process that you actually have a celebration of what has ended. You have to acknowledge that something has ended to be open to what can be, right? Because if you're stuck on this that's ended and you hang on to it, you're not allowing yourself the space to reinvent and to really pivot towards what you need to be and what you most importantly can be in the future. So as a great analogy, it really is an ending. Then you move into a neutral zone, right? So in other words, something's ended, right? So I was living this life, I was doing this thing, and it could be any age, just things happen as we manage change. And so we're in this neutral zone, and people go through this neutral zone at different paces, right? Some just are on it and say, let's go, I'm ready to, and some people are like, oh no, I'm so comfortable doing this. Why do I have to stop? Why do I want to work in this job again, or even if it maybe doesn't exist, or I want to work in this company, right? But then you go through the neutral zone. So you manage this ending, you do then kind of say something's changing, right? And you manage your way through that. And then you do this right. And it's the methodology that I use. Then it clicks. Then you have the space to say, I can create what's new for me and what's the best life that I can have, going forward, which is new. And you know what? It's not a one and done process either. No, you have to reinvent yourself over and over, and it's not uncommon to do this many times.
Day by day. And just, most of the people here know Barbara's transformation from being a wife and a widow, and then going through that transformational process and that time and the grief process and stuff, and mine with my husband and him being, incapacitated and on 23 prescriptions, and now he's off and he's out busy. I think he's out picking pumpkins again right now. It's more for me to put up. But so tell us your story.
Yeah. So, I am leading with my story, which is very real, obviously, and personal to me, but it resonates with so many that have gone through the same thing. I have been a corporate executive for many years, over 30 years, and with a pretty good degree of success. I mean, I say that humbly, but I was successful as a executive in the corporate world. And then the pandemic hit, and like so many, the industry I was in was just devastated. And so it changed. I was no longer a corporate executive. And so I had a chance to say, okay, what do I do now with my life, which is probably the most common saying of people in this situation. So fortunately, I have the knowledge and I had the experience as a professional in human resources and personal improvement, that I was able to take a step back myself and say, what do I really want to do with my gifts? And I call them gifts, not skills. We all have gifts. We are all unique. We have value to give. And that value is not always to a company. That value is to anyone that could use our wisdom, our inspiration, and our guidance, and us being a role model for what we could add in any type of profession, anything that we do. And so I had to take a step back and say, what do I want to do now after 30 plus years that I could add value? And so I did. And I started my company called Reinventing You, which is really focused on career transitions for people whose careers have turned upside down. I call it disruptive change. You were doing very well for a long period of time, you're still doing well. I mean, it's not saying you're not successful, but things change. Companies buy other companies, new management comes in, you're stuck with and not being promoted for a while. Maybe you've stagnated in your career. A number of things could happen. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm not happy anymore. And then it bleeds into our personal life. And that, Barbara, you and I were talking separately about it bleeds into our well-being.
Yes.
Physically, mentally. The implications are big. And the reason is that our work is so much part of our life. We spend more of our time at work a lot of times than we do at our home life, sad to say, right? So it's all of this that kind of comes together and says, okay, if I'm unhappy and this is bleeding into my personal life, and maybe I'm seeing the implications in my well-being, maybe I'm not sleeping as well, maybe I'm a little uptight, maybe I'm not as engaged with my family as I need to. This is the prime opportunity that I say to anybody who's willing to listen, is that, you know what, your default systems may not be the best at this time. What you were expecting to do the rest of your career and the rest of your life may not be best for you and may not serve you at this point. So this is where this concept of reinvention comes in, right? Where you take a step back and you reflect on the very best of what you've done way back to the beginning of your life, the successes that you've had, these magical moments, the moments that matter, they call it, that really, really were prideful for you. And let's reconnect with those, right? Let's reconnect with the best of who we are. So you end the default system, and it takes courage, right? Because you have to say, I'm willing to change what I've always been comfortable doing if it no longer serves me, right? And so you do this reflection, and this is how you move forward. And it's exactly what I did last summer. And, I ended up with the business, and, I have a coaching practice. I'm developing some other products that are helping. I do advisory stuff on organizations to help them reinvent themselves. So many companies are losing people. Their employee engagement is going down. It's just remarkable with this hybrid workplace and things like that. So many things are twirling around and changing. It just doesn't make sense, really, to think that the way you've always done things is going to be the way you always will continue to do things in a very different world, right? So this is where reinvention, I think, is for, again, the courageous, but really the open-minded, because it all is mindset, and you can make a change at any time with the right thinking and the right approach.
Well, and there are some things that you must do if you're going to work from home. I mean, you do have to have some discipline that some people don't have. It's like you can't just stay in your jammies all day and watch soap operas and eat bonbons and get and build a business. You must, it's like working from home. And doesn't mean work can't be fun. I mean, Barbara and I love doing these shows. Absolutely love it. Love working with our clients. But it does take some discipline and some mindset changes. And and guys, those are the things that the three of us help you with. We help you with those disciplines. We help you with those changes. We help you to see what changes you do need to make. And
to get you into some new habits.
Yes.
And sometimes for me, it's just been getting into a routine.
Yes. Yes.
That was huge. Once I got into the routine of, like, even just like for me right now, the routine that I've really gotten, that I've really embraced for myself, is doing social media.
And
I have a schedule, and it's rocking because I've got the system to do it. I've got the tools to do it. And it's like every day, it's like, okay, yeah, Barbara, just you're going to do this. And it's on my calendar. Big thing, people, it's on my calendar. It is scheduled.
Yeah.
Not just kind of willy-nilly.
Yeah, this morning at Bible study, I missed the very first of the discussion, but one of the ladies has gotten a coach, and she's working with this coach. And my Bible study is all business owners. Okay, so that's really fun because what's said there stays there. But, y'all don't know her. It's anonymous. But she realized, that she wasn't doing any self-care. She was taking no time for herself. They travel a lot. They have a wonderful life. She and her husband are a great team. They both own their own businesses, separate businesses, but she wasn't nurturing herself. And she realized that she misses playing the piano. And I mean, the emotion in her voice when she told it, when she said it, just, that's what I miss. That's what I want to do. And so she's going to pursue that. And it seems so simple. If aren't you doing something that you like? But, when you own a business and you're playing that full out because you love your business and you enjoy it, sometimes you miss that self-care.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, a friend of mine, she still takes piano lessons, and she's been taking piano lessons for probably 40 years. But she still takes it because she's always constantly, practicing and doing new things and learning new techniques. And it's like, why not? If you love doing it, why not?
That's
Well,
right.
and I come out of the model and talent industry, and I want everyone here knows who Charlton Heston is. I don't care your age, Moses from the Ten Commandments and many, many other things.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine taught him acting lessons. He was one of his acting coaches. And, people go, Charlton Heston had an acting coach? Yes, he practiced his craft up until the day he died because he wanted to be better. He wanted to do better. So if he can practice acting, what do we need to be doing?
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, very good point. Yeah.
And you're never too young and you're never too old to start.
No.
Yeah.
And it just starts with one thing. And one of the things that I work with my clients is sometimes you don't know what you want. And I'll just say to them, well, bless your heart. That's fine. Doesn't matter that you don't know what you want. So tell me something that you don't want. And most of the time people will know, well, I don't want to do that. Great. What's the opposite of it? Oh, well, and they usually almost always come up with something. What's the opposite? Well, okay, so let's start with that. And all you need to do.
What was your dream as a child? What did you want to grow up to be?
I wanted to be on the radio.
And here you are.
And here I am. And the funny thing is, though, I never realized it until a few months ago. Because on my other podcast, Everyday Riches, Jason and I, we were talking about that he always, just what things we wanted to do when we wanted to grow up. And I said, well, I always wanted to be a teacher, but I always thought it would be fun to be on the radio. And it was like, well, here I am. I'm a coach, so I teach people how to do things, and we have a podcast.
There you go.
So, what was your dream as a child, Jay?
Well, I was a aspiring athlete early on in my life, and through a series of injuries and just not quite good enough for the bigger levels, I didn't make it. But certainly it was enjoyable, and it taught me discipline to be an athlete early on. But all you're saying is you're right, and my method is I have this method that I use. It's called reflection, refocus, and reclaim your way to reinvention. And what you're talking about is reflection, and the person who just reconnected with the piano again. You're not able to do those things until you reflect on what it really was I enjoyed, and maybe you don't enjoy it anymore. Maybe you do. Maybe you can reconnect with that. There's so much data coming at us and so many distractions, but this is personal. This is who we are. This needs to be our focus, and you have this period of reflection where you manage the ending, what we talked about a few minutes ago, right? Where we understand what ends, but we use a positive psychology approach to focus on the best of who we've been and what drives us, what we're passionate about, right? And you start there. And then you refocus on your strengths. who you are. And what's so important about that is that your strengths are independent of your circumstances. And so many people don't get that. Oh, I lost my job. I've been demoted. So they hire somebody over me, so I'm no good anymore. Or this happened, and oh my goodness, I thought I was, maybe I'm not, don't add value anymore, and that, but those are your circumstances. That doesn't change who you are and the strengths that you have as an individual. They don't disappear because your company got bought. You lose sight of them, right? So you have to refocus on those, right? And then going back to what you said, Carolyn, about the discipline is so important. And this is where, if the coaching process is great, if you don't have the resources or the want to have a coach, get an accountability partner. But you reclaim your way, and there's a very focused drive to be the best of what I believe, the best of who you are. Because if you land at the best of who you are, then the work comes naturally, right? So I can give my gifts. I could start a franchise. I can work with a nonprofit. I can go back to a company if I choose, but it's on my terms. I have the leverage because I'm the best of who I am. I am not going to give the leverage to the company that has a job posting. And I'm going to go and apply for that job, and that becomes our next 10 years, right? Which may be great, may not be, and security in corporates is really, it doesn't
Not what it used to be.
Yeah, so it's really, that reclaim is really a driven process to use the best you are to become the best you are, to reinvent yourself to a future, and then to keep the agile approach of reinventing over time. So you can adjust and then continue using your gifts. And you know what? If the piano is what you love, do the piano, and do these things because it's yourself personally. And don't ever give up. That would be my message. Those gifts that you have, because this is your life, and you're going to be the best for your family, for your relationships, for your coworkers, for whatever, only if you're the best of who you can be and you believe in yourself. As they say, you can't love others until you love yourself first. And this is the way that you do this, is by intention, right? I'm intentionally going to really focus on the best of who I can be and not try to be something different. I can't be an athlete now because I've passed the age of, maybe I want to dream to say I can still throw a baseball or whatever, but the reality is I can't. So I'm going to use my gifts in a way that I can give back and add value to others. Every single person has that unique opportunity to do that themselves if they're open to reinvention and doing things different from their default systems.
Right. And I think one seeing the opportunity, seeing the gift in the opportunity. I remember when my aunt, she was, in her late 50s, early 60s. She fell and broke her wrist. And so, she was in a cast. And so then she had, it's choice. She could choose to just sit there and wait for it to heal, and poor pitiful me. But one of her doctors said, well, if you want to try to keep your wrist to heal faster, try painting.
Yes.
Painting, actual painting. She went, okay, I'll try that. You know what? Before she died, she was one of the best known artists in Montreal, and she would have these shows all the time. And I have a picture of one of her paintings on my wall.
Amazing story. Amazing. That's such a great story, because it's not conventional wisdom to use your hand when it's broken. Right. But you know what? If you're open to it and open to thinking differently, guess what? Now she was an accomplished painter, and what a great story.
It makes you wonder if that was what she was cut off out to be from creation.
From the beginning.
If that's maybe if even one of her childhood dreams. Obviously we can't ask her, but
would never, but it was so funny because, and she was kind of down, but she would downplay it in the family. But one day I took the train. I lived in Montreal, so I took the train into town, and there was this big art I was with my friends and we were all just walking through the train station, and there was this big art show. And I was like, oh yeah, let's go stop and look at, oh wow, aren't these beautiful? Da 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 da. And then I looked at the name. Muriel Kesler? That's my aunt.
There you go. There you go.
And it was just the funnest thing. And then it was like, she says, and she would just go like, well, yeah. And she would have these beautiful displays, and people would buy just
Fascinating.
paintings.
Love it. I love it. And there could be so many examples, and there are examples of that.
There are examples of that.
It's really great. And I do want to say something to that point, if I could, real quick.
Sure.
I want to be clear that when I talk about reinventing yourself and inspiring people to adapt, reset, I am not saying that with my eyes blinded to the realities of how difficult life can be and the things that we go through, breaking your wrist, losing someone in the family, the tragedy of COVID and all the things that people lost. Listen, life happens and not all of it is good. So when I say reinvention, it's an intentional way to bring out the best of who you are. But there's also within all of us what I call a place of grace. And what that is simply there's going to be times when life throws us a curveball. It could be a bad day. It could be a bad week. And we all should have this place of grace where we connect back to our memories and the blessings that we do have before and today, and have that in our mind. And sometimes there's visual displays of that we can pull out in our private moments when we're not having the best day or when things really get difficult. What's important is that you're resilient enough to get through the difficult times.
Right.
Keep on path, but you have your own place of grace that's going to help you, because all of the wonderful things that you have done and you have experienced and the blessings you have today don't go away. I mean, they're there for you and they're there to utilize. So I want to make it clear that it's not just that you put on this Superman cape and you go out and just, life is going to be great. You have the tools to reinvent yourself and to be resilient through these times, because they're going to happen. Life is going to have challenges, but you don't implode. You don't let that pull you back, right? You neutralize it and then you go through it. You have to feel the emotion and go through it. So I thought it's important to mention that. So we're not foolish enough of people going through very difficult times and saying, well, what do you mean reinvent myself? I've lost 2 family, whatever.
Yeah.
And so there are places, again, what I call a place of grace, whatever it is, that helps us through the difficult times, to acknowledge them, that they're going to happen, but that we have the tools and the mental wherewithal to go through it and not let it knock us down, that we know the next day is going to be better.
So I have a question. Do you feel like gratefulness has a place in building that resilience? I mean, if nothing else, if you get up in the morning, number one, get up in the morning, and the sun is up. Lord, thank you that the sun is up. Thank you that I'm breathing. Thank you that, I mean, some people don't have a roof over their head, but if they do, thank you that I have a roof over my head. It doesn't have to be big, thank you that I live in a palace. No.
Right.
Sometimes people with the least are the most grateful. But I've found that the more grateful I am, the better my day goes. The
Yeah,
time when I give that extra little bit of time first thing in the morning. In fact, I was listening to something today, but it's like the first moments before you, or when you first get up, and the last moments before you go to sleep is the best time to reset your thoughts and such. And so, if I want to say, if you're having difficulty embracing what he's saying and embracing the ideas of reset, maybe it's like, I am grateful that I'm alive.
Yeah.
One
of the best quotes I have from Wayne Dyer, who passed away a few years ago. You could think the world is miserable and a bad place with unhappy people, or you can think the world is a place where I have gratitude and the good things can happen. Same world,
Mhm.
different mindset.
Yes.
And so I do think gratefulness is one of the foundational things, Carol, of foundational values that we really do need to count our blessings when times are difficult and reconnect with that and be intentional, because we have so many blessings if we just stop to see and to
Yes.
look, and so that gratefulness, yes, I think is very, very important, to our foundation of us, again, bringing out the good. And when you're having a bad day, I would say, if you can't find a reason to smile today, find a reason to make somebody else smile. You'll get your smile back tomorrow, but there's just this way. So I know it may be cliche and things like that. These are very real. This is personal. This is our emotion, right? And we do have blessings, right? So just get off autopilot is what my message to your group, to your audience. Just get off autopilot, look for the opportunity if you need to again, reset, refocus, and then really, really take a look at what the best you can be. And you'll be remarkable at what you can. You'll find out in a remarkable way what you really can be, right? As a person and as a contributor to society and to your family and to your relationships and everything, probably better than you've ever imagined, if you allow yourself the opportunity to think that way.
Wonderful. Well, I can't think of a better place to
Stop. That's the
put a
mic drop.
period in it. So we thank you so much for coming on today, Jay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank
I'm
you.
so glad that well, both of us connected with you.
Likewise.
It's like it's great. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to our
You're
people
welcome.
and being a good, valued asset to them. So
Thank you.
for Thoughtful Thursdays and for Carol and Barbara and Jay, bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.